Before sunrise, your feet hit a floor cold enough to sting bone, and the air you draw in is thick with wood smoke, scratching your throat awake. In the 1670s in New England, there is no central heat, no indoor plumbing, just the relentless labor of tending a single hearth, scraping soot, rationing firewood under penalty of law, and living in constant compromise with smoke and cold. Every basic comfort, warmth, clean water, even rest, costs aching muscles and endless vigilance. What did it take for ordinary families to survive the colonial winter when every step and breath carried the price of technology's limits? The reality begins at the fire. The first work of winter is the fire. Before the sun rises, someone in the house, often the matriarch, kneels at the hearth, pushing aside a crust of cold ash to search for the faintest glow of last night's embers. Hands numb from the chill, she rakes the coals together, layers them with dry splinters, and breathes life into the day's only promise of warmth. Banking the fire is a ritual, not a luxury. At night, embers are buried under ash to hold their heat until dawn. If the fire dies, the house turns to stone. Reviving it means hours of effort or a neighbor's mercy. Every degree of warmth in the room is earned. The fire back, just a slab of brick or stone, throws what little heat it can toward shivering bodies, but most escapes up the chimney or seeps into the walls. In poorer homes, the hearth is shallow, lined with packed clay, and its warmth fades quickly. Wealthier families, if they can afford it, install brick firebacks to hold the heat longer, but even these do little against the deep cold of January. The law demands vigilance. Town ordinances require every household to maintain at least 3 cords of wood for the winter, under threat of a fine of 20 shillings. For a family, that means weeks of chopping, hauling, and stacking oak and pine, often in a lean-to or north-facing shed to keep it dry. The burden is measured in aching backs and blistered hands. Each log burned is a calculation: how many remain, how many nights are left before the thaw. Daytime tasks are assigned by the matriarch. Children gather kindling, older sons split logs, daughters sweep up ash. The fire is never left alone. The labor never truly ends. Smoke hangs in the air long after the first flames catch. The fire gives warmth, but every breath comes at a cost. Eyes sting, throats tighten, and each inhale draws in the sharp tang of burning oak or pine. In many homes, the haze never fully clears. Roof hatches or small windows might open for a moment to let the worst of it escape, but as soon as the cold presses in, they are slammed shut again. There is no true chimney, just a hole above the hearth, or a crude flue in wealthier houses. Soot settles on rafters and walls, coating everything in a fine black dust. Night brings its own ritual. After the fire is stoked for the evening, coughing fits echo through cramped rooms. A Providence diary from 1673 records the heavy coughing of my wife each night after the fire is stoked, a line repeated in many households. Matriarchs, responsible for keeping the house livable, scrape soot from hearth walls with iron tools, sweep ashes, and spread a thin layer of ash on the hearthstone to soak up the odor. These chores never truly end. Soot creeps back as soon as the fire is lit again. Some reach for remedies, herbal teas brewed from sage or yarrow, believed to cleanse the lungs. Others simply endure, knowing that the only alternative to smoke is a house gone cold. Over time, the body pays: irritated lungs, raw throats, and skin that never feels fully clean. Each winter night, as you lie near the fire, warmth and discomfort become inseparable facts of survival. Night in a New England home in the 1670s brings a different kind of labor. When the fire is banked and the room is thick with smoke, the chamber pot becomes a necessary companion. The cold bites through every layer, bare feet on wooden planks, the sharp sting of urine hitting a pot already rimmed with ice. In the darkness, you fumble for the lid, careful not to wake the rest of the family crowded nearby. There is no privacy, only the hope that your movements will go unnoticed in the hush of the room. By dawn, the pot is heavy and the air inside is sour. Children shivering in their shifts are often sent to carry the waste outside. The snowdrifts offer a temporary solution, contents dumped into a hollow where the freeze locks away the smell until spring. But every trip is watched not just by family but by the eyes of the town. Colonial bylaws warn against dumping waste too close to wells or public ways. Fines for casting excrements near a neighbor's door or the street can reach 10 or even 40 shillings, a sum that stings as much as the cold. In a world where water sources are few and illness spreads quickly, these rules are enforced with real vigilance. What feels like a private, unpleasant chore is shaped by the fear of contamination and the pressure of communal order. Each night's routine, emptying, hauling, braving the dark, reminds everyone that even the most intimate acts are bound to the survival of the whole. Water is as essential as fire, yet in the heart of a New England winter, it is just as elusive. When the well freezes solid, the day begins with the eldest child bracing against the dark, gripping a 20-gallon bucket and trudging through packed snow toward the communal cistern or the edge of a half-frozen stream. Each step is a test. Ice cracks underfoot, breath clouds the air, fingers ache around the wooden handle. The bucket, once filled, weighs close to 160 pounds. Back at the house, the water is poured into an oak barrel lined with pitch and tucked into the cellar, where the earth's chill keeps it from turning to stone, but never truly warm. Every drop is precious. Some families add a pinch of ash or a sprig of rosemary before boiling, hoping to sweeten the taste and ward off illness. There's no room for waste. The time and muscle spent hauling water shape the entire household schedule. Washing, cooking, and even drinking are rationed, every task measured against the effort it takes to keep the barrel from running dry. Washing in a New England winter is a negotiation with cold, exhaustion, and scarcity. The matriarch and her older daughters stand at the hearth, sleeves rolled, faces flushed from the heat and the sting of wood smoke. A kettle of water, painstakingly hauled and rationed, simmers over the fire, each drop a product of hours of labor. Soap is made at home, boiled from animal fat and wood ash into a harsh lye that bites at cracked hands. Washboards, if the family owns one, are rough wooden slats with surfaces worn smooth by years of scrubbing. Laundry is not a daily affair. Fuel is too dear, water too precious. Underclothes and linens are prioritized, boiled and wrung out in the dim light, while heavier garments wait for spring. Wet cloth is draped over chairs and hung near the hearth, steaming and dripping onto the packed earth floor. Sometimes a neighbor might trade a turn at the fire for a share of the soap, but each household guards its woodpile and water barrel fiercely. The air fills with the sharp scent of lye, mingling with smoke and sweat. Every wash is a calculation: how much fuel can be spared, how much warmth is lost to steam, how much strength remains in tired arms. The relentless cold seeps through, and fatigue settles deep in the bones. Cleanliness is a privilege bought with time, pain, and careful planning. Children become part of the winter workforce almost as soon as they can stand and carry a bundle. The eldest, often no more than 12 or 13, shoulders the heaviest burdens, hauling wood, feeding animals before dawn, trudging through snow to fetch water with arms that ache before breakfast. Younger siblings trail behind, gathering kindling, sweeping ash, or carrying chamber pots out into the brittle morning air. In some homes, girls as young as 6 are expected to keep the fire alive while older brothers split logs outside. Probate inventories list children as household assets alongside livestock and tools, their labor measured and valued. The law may not spell out their duties, but custom and necessity leave little room for idleness. Diaries and court records tell of mothers chastised for sons who shirked night fire watch, or daughters who failed to tend the hearth. Fatigue settles deep, especially on the eldest, whose eyes grow heavy long before the family dares to sleep. In these rooms, survival is not the work of adults alone. Every small body, every tired hand is drawn into the economy of winter. Sleep in a New England winter is a negotiation, not a release. The fire's glow draws every member of the household close, bodies pressed together on straw mattresses or rough bench platforms built against the hearth wall. In some homes, archaeological traces show these benches raised just high enough to catch stray warmth, the family's heads angled toward the flame. There are no private beds. Children, parents, and sometimes servants share the same narrow space, breath mingling in the cold air. Before lying down, someone slides a bed warmer, an iron pan filled with hot stones or embers, between the sheets, chasing away the sharpest edge of the chill. But the heat fades quickly, and the cold seeps in through floorboards and walls. Sleep is shallow, broken by coughing, shivers, and the need to check the fire. The eldest or most trusted child keeps watch, eyes heavy, listening for the crackle that signals danger or the silence that means the embers are dying. Rest comes in fragments, measured by the rhythm of the fire and the slow, synchronized breathing of the family huddled together. Vulnerability lingers through the night, every hour shaped by the hope that warmth will last until dawn. Even now, comfort depends on systems we rarely notice until they fail. For every modern thermostat and tap, a lineage of endurance runs from cold floors and smoky air to the warmth we expect today. In each winter, resilience isn't history, it's the quiet labor beneath our daily lives.